I believe that all of these, the feedback and reviews are really history lessons, and we learn from them. Very important to get that information. I believe more important is to look at the behavior of our clients. Let's take a look at who our best clients are. What do they look like? How often do we engage? What are their billings? What are we doing for them? What's their behaviors, if you will?
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a tremendous one. Our returning guest is the Chief Amazement Officer of Shepherd Presentations, a customer service expert, keynote speaker, and author of his new book, I'll Be Back: How to Get Customers to Come Back Again and Again. Shep Hyken, welcome to the show.
It is great to be here. Thank you for having me back.
It's great to have you, and I absolutely love the title of your new book.
Thank you. Yeah, I just thought, what is it that we want our customers to say and do? You know, we want them to say, I'll be back, and then we want them to actually come back.
Well, absolutely. And I know our listener, many of them have them come back again and again and again, but I think that with you today, you're going to arm them with how they're going to come back again, again, and again, and again, and again. So, Shep, tell us, you've been on the show quite a few times. I'd love for you to give us a bit of an update since you've last been on the show.
Sure. Well, first, I wrote the book. I don't know when the last time I was on here. Actually, I probably was in the process of writing the book, but it is actually, I'm excited about it. It's that's new. What else is new in our business? Well, I was kind of hoping that we would be seeing COVID in the rearview mirror. It's not going to go away anytime soon, but I think the world is adapting to it. And with that comes a lot of opportunity to create a better experience for customers. I think it's forcing us to all up our game. So that gets me very excited that I think companies are figuring out how to deliver a better experience. You know, there's always a silver lining in every dark cloud. And I think part of it is the companies that are figuring it out are doing really, really well, and the customers are receiving the benefit of that.
Absolutely. And I mean, speaking on that, this pandemic, we were chatting a little bit before the show. It's this big waiting game. Lots of things have changed. There's been both pros and many cons for many people. People have had to pivot. So many things have changed. How has customer service changed?
Well, I don't really think basically because of the pandemic specifically or overall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not sure it's really changed all that much. Now, during the pandemic, I think companies and employees, not just in the customer service and support world, but anybody on the front line had to be more empathetic and understanding, because people in general were a little bit more stressed out. They may have had a shorter temper. They may have had, we don't know what's going on in their head. They may have a fear that we didn't have before. A lot of times in the world of customer service, not experience is all of the interactions that customers have with our organization, with people, digital, website, any interaction. But when it comes to service, people dealing with people, a lot of times these fears that our customers might have manifest themselves in frustration and anger. They normally wouldn't act this way, but they seem to be doing that. So we have to understand people are nervous, scared, and stressed out a little bit, and just we have to deal with them with a little bit more patience. But other than that, I don't believe not much has changed. In general, I actually wrote a chapter in my new book, I'll Be Back, How to Get Customers to Come Back Again and Again, which you so kindly mentioned earlier. There's a chapter that says nothing has changed in customer service. And what I mean by that is in the world of dealing with customers, if they come to us, they may have a need, they may have a problem, they might even have a complaint. And when they're finished interacting with us, they want to be happy. They want to be satisfied. We want to make them happy. Nothing has changed. That's from the very beginning, when the only way you can get service was by either walking into a store and talking to somebody or picking up the phone and making a call to whatever that business is. Today, however, nothing has changed. And I think 50 years from now, I'm still going to be saying the same thing if I'm alive. But what has changed is how we go about that end result. There is different technology that's come about. Self-service, digital technologies are driving sometimes a better experience. And oftentimes, unfortunately, when companies become enamored with the technology, they may, by accident, thinking they're doing the right thing, be creating a harder or worse experience for our customers. But everything in the middle will change, but the beginning and the end, nothing's changed.
So interesting. I mean, this journey that you've been on, you've been speaking about customer service and how to have customers come back in again. I mean, this is the title of your new book, but you've studied this and made this your life's work. Do you believe that through the pandemic, customer service has not really changed? The technology has changed, but are people changing?
Well, great question. So there have been some things. First of all, what COVID and the pandemic did is they pushed us about 3 to 5 years into the future. Nothing new took place during this past year and a half, except what might be considered new was actually adopted or adapted processes, if you will, and the way we handled their customers that were already there. They were just like, oh my gosh, we've got to do this more. I'll give you an example, a very generic example for the automobile business, car dealerships. When the world went into a lockdown and a shutdown of the non-essential businesses, car dealerships, mechanics were considered, the getting the car repaired, that was considered essential, but the sales office, non-essential. And so that means they had to shut down and people couldn't come in. And what they did is they said, hey, we will bring the car to you. Go online, pick out the car you want, the features, the color, et cetera, et cetera. We've got something probably pretty close to the exact car that you want. We'll come to you. We'll let you demo it, drive it around. If you need service, we'll pick your car up and drop you off a loaner, or we'll just pick it up and bring it back when it's finished. So this is what dealerships started to do. Well, many dealerships on the higher end had already been doing this. Now, every dealership was doing this. As a result, they had a phenomenal year in car sales. And that's very exciting that they figured out that creating a better experience, a more convenient experience, was going to drive sales. Well, they made the change. The idea of doing this was already there, but many of them just adopted or adapted into it. Grocery stores, obviously going in and buying your own groceries is one thing, but ordering online, it was already there. Now it was being used far more extensively than ever before. From the standpoint of a digital experience for our audience that's listening today, what can we put on a website that's maybe password protected, or maybe there's just general information that that's not so proprietary and you need to keep private, that we can put on our website, that we can give access to our customers, that they could have a digital experience that creates a better experience for them. It's already out there. We just want to make sure they're getting it.
You said it. It's literally, we've accelerated into the future. All of these things were there. I really get that. And now, for those that have not adopted some of these smaller organizations, maybe that they've adopted a few things, but you're saying the customers' behaviors, really, they're still wanting the same thing, but it's altering through technology. How is that going to put smaller businesses maybe that don't have the thought or resources in place? How does it put them at risk from being able to deliver to their customers?
I don't think there's any risk well, there's always risk, but the risk becomes mitigated if the small business understands their customer, knows what they need to do, and adopts the necessary technologies to do so, or the necessary processes to do so. For example, let's just say we become, where we can no longer have people come to our office. Well, it's time for us to go to their office. It's time for us to go to their homes. It's time for us to do more virtual meetings where we can pull up, paperwork, show them numbers, help them with what they need in a virtual sense. So I think that what we're going to do is if there's a behavior that's being changed, it is the ability to adapt and accept those changes more so. We see generational differences between baby boomers and Gen Z, and then you've got your Gen Xers and millennials in between. And it's really amazing to me the adoption of digital technology from the older generation that was never interested in this technology before. So we just have to know what they want and deliver what they want. And real important, don't become enamored with technology to the point where you create an experience that's not right for your customer, but you love it because you think it's really cool. And the final piece of this is, no matter what technology you're using, always give the customer the opportunity to go to a human-to-human connection easily and seamlessly.
Wow. You wrote this book. Did you start writing it before COVID had started?
Actually, I did. I had the outline, and it's I just was probably January or February where it all started for me. And then March, I'm kind of just getting into it. And then all of a sudden this hits and I go, oh, okay, well, I've got a little bit more time to get this done a little bit quicker. But I just want you to know that writing a book does not come quickly and easily. It takes several months just to write the book. And then once it's written, you've got the editing process. My publisher, we decided we did not want to release the book. What we thought would be safe is to release it September 2021. So we're 8 months, 10 months out, ready to go with the book. And we're just saying, nah, not going to release it now. By the way, in March, we re-released one of my older books with an update into it called Cult of the Customer. And, right in the middle of the beginning of this pandemic, when people were truly in lockdown and in quarantine, we come out with a book. Well, I'm not going to say it was a disaster, but I know that my sales, which a lot of times are based on me getting in front of an audience, and again, today it's sometimes virtually, but getting from the audience and the client saying, hey, I want to buy 500 books for everyone in the audience. Well, when the speeches went away, my job was going, to an event with hundreds of people or thousands of people. That went away. Well, guess what? Book sales went away too. So this book comes out, and hopefully everybody listening will want to get it. That would be awesome. You can go to Amazon or you can go to I'llBeBackBook.com. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I started writing it, and actually the audiobook, which I'm very excited about because I have never recorded my own book. I've always been like, I don't want to ever read this again after writing it and reading it and editing it and rereading it. But this time my publisher said, please do it. People want to hear your voice. Okay. And he said it went well. So I'm excited about the audiobook as well.
I'm excited about it. I'm glad you shared that. We definitely hear from our listener that they like to have audiobooks. And so you've got a great voice. You're an excellent speaker. I mean, it all goes together. So I'm excited about it. And so let's talk about the book. Our listener is a bookkeeping business owner. They are running their own small business. They're supporting other small businesses out there, small business owners, and helping them with their finances and empowering them around their finances. And they're looking for a way to grow and scale and build a business that they love. How is I'll Be Back going to help them?
Well, don't we want customers? I mean, we just don't want a one and done project. We want ongoing. And by the way, by the nature of what we do in the bookkeeping industry, in the business, it is an ongoing thing. You have to, make some mistakes or not be able to provide the customer what they want before they say, hey, no longer. But at the end of the day, we want our customers to constantly be coming back. We want to renew annually, year to year. We want to get we're focused more, I believe, on the long-term loyal client than we are the project, if you will. That said, that's what this is about. So we always want to measure customer satisfaction. We always want to know if they're happy. And we might survey our clients. We might give them, ask them for a review. We might ask them to fill out, Net Promoter Score type surveys where, we ask them what's the likelihood that they would refer us. I believe that all of these, the feedback and reviews, are really history lessons, and we learn from them. Very important to get that information. I believe more important is to look at the behavior of our clients. Let's take a look at who our best clients are. What do they look like? How often do we engage? What are their billings? What are we doing for them? What's their behaviors, if you will? And let's take a look at other clients that don't seem to use us as much. Maybe it's a project. So I just want to make sure that we understand why clients do business with us and what we can do to drive the behavior. By the way, this whole idea started with the behavior versus just looking at feedback. It started when I was working with a client in the salon business, the hair salon business. Now imagine that I get hired to be the keynote speaker to a major chain of salons, where they cut hair. I'm the bald guy. I don't go to a salon, but they brought me in as the expert. And when I was interviewing the CEO of the organization prior to the speech, to be able to make sure that my comments were right on target, one of the things he mentioned was he knows what a good, loyal customer's behavior is. He knows, and by the way, there's different behaviors. A woman with long hair versus a woman with short hair. Somebody that wants color in their hair versus somebody that just comes in for a haircut. And they know what the cadence of the visit should be. So, for example, let's say I did get my hair cut. I would come in once a month. That would show them that I am basically using them exclusively for my haircut needs. But what if I didn't come in but once a quarter? They would probably say, is he getting his hair cut somewhere else? We need to find out what we're doing that isn't earning us that month-to-month business. And we want to measure the behavior as much as we do the feedback from what happened yesterday. Were you happy with your haircut? Were you happy with the service? Makes sense? So that's a really important concept to understand. It's not just understanding the lifetime value of the customer. It's the lifetime interaction of the customer. What does that behavior look like? And we want to get as many customers into that way of thinking and that way of acting with us as possible.
So interesting. And, obviously just sitting here thinking about this as you're sharing this, many of our listener is busy doing the work. And this is about thinking and looking and researching and really understanding and making sure that around here we talk about Michael Gerber's work on the business. And this book really sounds like an opportunity to step back and do some thinking about the business so that we can actually work on the business and make changes to our business that will have our customers have a better experience and come back to our business and refer more people to our business. Mm-hmm. Out of this process. If there was out of the book, a list of things, like what's at the top of the list?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I don't mind giving you the best content from the book, and that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to tell you the biggest takeaway. Well, there's a lot of great takeaways. Understanding what measurement's important. We talked about behavior versus just general feedback. The fundamentals and foundational concepts of all of my work lies in the concept of creating customer amazement, which is within the grasp of everyone. We can talk about that. There's a list of what we call terminators. Why would a customer terminate the relationship with you? Apathy is the number one reason. If you don't show that you care, they're going to feel it. They're going to go somewhere else. Our clients will, that they do feel like they're cared for. But there's 10 terminators. There's 3 reasons you would terminate your own clients. But my favorite chapter is actually the last chapter. It's called Where the Rubber Hits the Road. And I'm happy to share with you the 6-step process of creating that I'll be back experience to separate our listeners from their competitors and get ahead of the game. If you'd like, do you want me to share that?
Oh, I'd love to.
I had a feeling you would. So here's what happens. First question, why would a client do business with us instead of a competitor? And don't say because we're really friendly and really nice and really knowledgeable, because that's exactly what your competitors are saying that they have. What you want to do is say, what is it that really differentiates us? Do we specialize in a particular industry? Do we have a specific skill? Do we have some type of a certification that might be not as that might be really hard to get that others might not have? What is it that makes us different? And then ask yourself, why would someone go to a competitor? That's your second step. Number 3 is something I call keeping pace. By the way, I'm going through this quickly, obviously go into much more detail in the book. So number 3 is keeping pace, meaning if the competitor is doing something or does or has something different than you, could you do something similar? And I use that word similar because ideally you don't want to copy the exact same thing, because then it becomes a commodity. What you want to do is make it your own. If they're doing something that you think you should be doing and that you decide you want to do, what twist can you give it? Now, I want you to look outside of your industry for step 4. And just list the companies you love to do business with. Why? And it could be, and we always see Amazon show up on the list, but it could also be the shoe repair guy that's down the street. What do you love about doing business with that company or that person or that, organization? It could be, there's so many different companies that you would love. A restaurant. It could be, maybe you buy some specialty item, from one of your vendors. And why do you love that vendor? I want you to write down why you love them as well. And many of these things do not apply to what you do, but you've got to write this list and make it robust. Every little detail counts, because then in step 5, you're going to take a look at these and say, okay, what can I implement from this list? And by the way, I want you to read between the lines, because I'll give you an example. We did this exercise, and this is something we do in a lot of our training programs. We have trainers that go out and deliver the content that I create. And we ask them this, we go through this process, and somebody will say Amazon. And this actually happened. I was there. What do you like about Amazon? Well, I love that when I place an order, I get an instant email, and then they email me to tell me it's on its way, and they give me the shipping information. And then I get a picture of it sitting at my doorstep when it finally arrives. And somebody says, and actually it was one of the leadership said, hey, we are not an e-commerce company. That has nothing to do with us. And I said, I want everybody to write down everything they like about the company. And by the way, what the e-commerce company is doing is not emailing that the order was placed. What they're doing is they're giving the customer information, and information makes that customer feel like they're in control. So they may not be placing an order with our bookkeepers, but what they might be doing is receiving an email that says, hey, this is where we are in, your project, or this is, it's, in the process of, whatever it is that you're doing for your clients. But you get it? It's all about receiving information. It's not about getting emailed because you bought something. And then, of course, my client says, oh, I get it now. I go, exactly. So read between the lines. So step 5 is implementing some of the ideas from outside your industry that you can bring into your business. And that, by the way, starts to really separate yourself from the competition. Finally, step number 6 is to ask the same same question, slightly modified, that you did in question one. Remember, step one is the question, why would somebody do business with me? Well, now that I've implemented these ideas, or I'm going to, and I'm keeping pace with a competitor, if there's something they're doing, I ask the same question. Now, why would somebody want to do business with me? And there you go. It's a 6-step process. I went through it really quickly, but trust me, this is a powerful exercise to go through. If nothing else, this may be the chapter within the book that you go, wow, this was so worth it.
I love it. And thank you for the gift. And often the gift that someone can give themselves in their own business is just time to do work and thinking like you've just given them, Shep. And what I'm excited about is the fact that you went through those really quickly, but guess what? You also recorded an audiobook, as we've talked about, where I know a listener can listen, be literally you're a wonderful storyteller, listen to your book and actually go through this process and really do that deep dive. I mean, the value of that, it's literally going to be like they're in a private workshop with you doing this work, which is priceless, absolutely priceless. So I'm excited about that for our listener. And, you've mentioned a few times, I was going to bring it up, but I'll Be Back, the Terminator. Was there something to do with the movie when you wrote this book?
Not until I got into about I had already done the outline and I started to write, and I just felt like the Terminator. What? Oh, why didn't I think about that before? Now, as a result, the first chapter is called Win and Arnie. And I have some quotes from Arnold Schwarzenegger, who I can't imagine there's anybody out there that doesn't know that he was the star of the Terminator. But and in the first movie, he said, "I'll be back in." And by the way, he's done a number of movies. And when he said, "I'll be back in the Terminator," number one, it was to come back and blow up the police station. And then the subsequent movies, he said it. And I love the movie. There was a movie where he had the co-star was a little kid, and he said, "I'll be back." And the kid says, "You say that all the time." He goes, "I do?" He goes, "Yeah, you say that all the time." And it's like, now it's a comedy. So anyway, we incorporated that into the book, and I gave even the font on the cover is called Terminator font. It's an actual font that you can, put and print out. Crazy. But anyway, that's that's the extent of my Terminator consideration here. I just thought about it and said, I'm going to put some of it in there, but it wasn't a thought that I had of at the beginning.
Very interesting. And I'm a big fan. Definitely. It was part of my childhood watching those shows. I'm sure our listener, I'd love to hear, listener, if you are a big fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger, you can always let me know. Go to the Facebook group and let us know. And let us know that you've bought a copy of this book, which you don't want to have the Terminator coming into your business and having your clients leave you. I mean, the cost to get clients, the energy to get clients. If you want to have a business that you love, it's filling your business with clients that you love and having them stay with you and refer other great clients like themselves. Shep, this has been a tremendous opportunity for our listener. Please share where they can get access to the book again, and I'm like talking all over myself today. Sorry, Shep.
Hey, no worries. Hey, it's when I know we're pre-recording this
yes.
because that's the way podcasts work. When does this episode actually release?
September 21st.
That is the perfect day, because September 21st, that day, is the day the book actually comes out. So you can go straight to Amazon, or you can go to my website, I'llBeBackBook.com, and there'll be some extras there. You'll get a workbook. There's the video that talks us through the process that I just talked about earlier. There'll be some other perks by just going to the website. Even if you get it from Amazon, it'll say, want more information, go to the website. There's more there. So I try to make all of my books that don't just get read, but get used.
I love it. And we've had you on a few times. You've written several books. We've had many listeners comment on how much they loved the interview with you and also bought your book. And I would love to extend an offer that I've done before when we've had wonderful authors on the podcast like yourself, Shep. Very generous of you to come and be with us. And so for anybody that buys I'll Be Back, let us know. Just send a receipt that you've bought either the audiobook or the hardcover book, whichever book you buy from Shep, let us know, and I will send you a copy of my book, The Successful Bookkeeper, and ship it to your door. And all you need to do is just say, hey, Michael, bought Shep's book. Send an email to michael@thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com, and I will do that as a gift to both you, the listener, and as well to you, Shep, because
how cool
we love
is
having
that?
you on the show.
Wow. Thank you. That is such a cool opportunity for your listeners. Unbelievable. So very cool. Thank you.
Well, Shep, thank you. We really appreciate having you on the show. I'm looking forward to getting a copy of the audiobook. I will be listening to that very late September 21st. I will be driving in my car listening to you, Shep, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right. And me as well. So thank you for having me on the show. And I hope that I'll be back.
You will definitely. Thank you, Shep. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. To learn more about today's guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.